The question is that the Premier's statement be agreed to. The member for Hillary's.
Thank you. Acting Speaker. Acting Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak on the Premier's address. Yesterday, we heard the Premier discuss our unique and effective strategy to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic in Western Australia. And like all Western Australians over the last 2 years, the good people of the Hillary's electorate are concerned about the impacts of COVID-19 on their lives, their families and their businesses. As many members have attested in their speeches, and both my staff and I can also attest from our daily interactions with constituents, they are very much aware of the challenges that Omicron will present in 2022. But concerned as they are aware also of how fortunate they have been to live in the state of Western Australia. They have put their trust in the McGowan government and the excellent leadership of the Premier to steer them through one of the worst pandemics of our lifetime. The residents of Hillary's are adaptive people, Acting Speaker, and despite it all, they look to the future for hope. And that is mostly because over the past 2 years, what we have not experienced in Western Australia is the rampant spread of COVID-19. Unlike many of our friends and family over east and overseas that have experienced high caseloads, high hospital rates and high death rates. And this is largely because of the hard choices that this government has made. Choices that may not always be popular, but choices that are backed by science, compassion and common sense. Lives have been saved and the economy has been saved from falling into a dark abyss. Currently, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the country, and in fact the lowest in 13 years, sitting at only 3.4%. So what is clear is that our safe and cautious approach to managing COVID-19 continues to deliver for Western Australians. For comparison, we only have to look over east to see the chaos and confusion from poor management. We've seen schools and businesses close down for months on end. There have been over 4,500 deaths caused by COVID-19 in Australia, and only 10 of these have occurred in Western Australia, and only 2 of those caused by local transmission in the community. So I stand proudly as the member for Hillary's, knowing that this is a government that never turned its back or will never turn its back on its people or become complacent to the loss of life. Acting Speaker, sometimes government health and safety decisions are unpopular among segments of society, but they are few yet loud. In fact, just recently I had 4 protesters standing outside my office door in Hillary's chanting that this was like living in Nazi Germany. Now, as a teacher that has taught the Nazism in Germany unit for over 6 years, this comparison is baffling, it's offensive, it's wrong, and it's completely ignorant. You know, in a nutshell, you compare one regime in 1930s Germany that had a leader with the sole intent of exterminating a segment of their population, compared to the leader of Western Australia whose sole intent, despite criticisms or pressures from over east, is to keep the people of Western Australia safe and prevent anyone from dying needlessly. So I shouldn't even really give such a ridiculous comment or comparison oxygen, because the majority of Western Australians clearly support the cautious, considered and methodical approach of this government. People mostly want to do the right thing. They understand that vaccinations, mask wearing and social distancing help control the spread of COVID. And the slowing down of the virus is working. We will be in the best position to open up at some stage in the near future by allowing people to get that third dose vaccination, by allowing children to get vaccinated. We've already expanded our health capacity. We're hiring new nurses and doctors. We've got 530 new beds, the equivalent to a tertiary hospital. We've got an abundance of RATs. We've hit 99.3% first dose vaccination for WA aged 16 and over, one of the highest rates in the world and something that the McGowan government can be very proud of. All of these things will give Western Australians the best chance to stay safe until our borders open and when our borders open. I commend residents of Hillary's and businesses who have widely supported proof of COVID-19 vaccinations as a way of keeping themselves, their staff and patrons COVID safe. Now, on a more positive note, Acting Speaker, in case you've missed the good news, the Hillary's electorate office has moved. We inherited a lovely, well-appointed office from my predecessor overlooking the marina, no less, with fantastic views. But it quickly became apparent that as fantastic as these views were, given that the office is upstairs and without a lift, there was little to no possibility of anyone with any sort of physical limitation to be able to access this office. That's right, the former Liberal member for Hillary's did not consider people living with a disability, people who were pregnant, people who perhaps needed to push a pram, the elderly. He did not consider people that might be sick or injured. Well, things have changed in Hillary's, Acting Speaker, and as the local MP, I love welcoming all people to the Hillary's electorate office. I'm interested in all issues that people want to share with me. It was therefore an easy decision to relocate my office to a much more accessible and inclusive space over the summer break. The Hillary's office is now located on the corner of Marmion Ave and Banks Avenue, and it's a wonderful spot. Ample parking, ground level, lots of traffic, not a great view, but totally accessible, and that's what we like. But more importantly, it's what my constituents like, who have been visiting us in droves the last few weeks. Visiting us in droves?
No, not wanting to change the office.
Nope, I requested that. So not only is this office a place where people now feel that they can access us, they have come in droves to enjoy our services, namely the Services WA app, which we've assisted hundreds and hundreds of people get set up on their phones. They've not always been tech savvy, but these are residents who are full of good conversation and knowledgeable about the community. We've been assuring them that the McGowan government values their health and their lives in equal measures to others. And it was also fantastic to recently visit St Ives in Callaroo, a retirement village where we were able to assist many residents there. As challenging as this pandemic has been, it's often made us think outside the box. And there are many businesses and individuals in the Hillary's electorate who've shown great initiative and adaptability in recent times. So I'd like to give a few shout outs to these people and businesses. Firstly, I'd like to shout out to the Hillary's Boat Harbour Traders Association and Teresa McDonald from Lease Equity for bringing Hillary's Boat Harbour to life this summer. Back in November, they hosted an exclusive fashion show showcasing some of the marina's best fashion retailers. It created an amazing buzz with selling over 500 tickets and supported local retailers who had lost tourist dollars. In fact, it was such a success that there's talk of this happening annually. Fringe World also came to Hillary's again this year, with many comedy nights at the Whitford's Brewing Company, and Aqua even hosted a La Fiesta evening, giving people the full Latin experience. Also, in the spirit of COVID adaptability, we saw a new initiative emerge at the Boat Harbour, which was aimed at those seeking a slice of European summer. It is known as the Boardwalk Beach Club. Custom-built cabanas, lounges, delicious cocktails, food, DJs, acoustic music, games and more. This event promotes outdoor dining, which allows people to scan a QR code to order food from the surrounding local vendors at the marina. Acting Speaker, I particularly love it when food trucks park 600 metres from my house. I want to shout out to the owners of Big Kids Food Truck Events, and their names are Mitch Clark and Corinne Truslove, as well as the manager, Craigie resident Katie Keenan. These guys deliver multicultural food trucks, live entertainment and lots of fun multiple nights of the week in various suburbs in my electorate, from Padbury, Mullaloo and Hillary's. They employ amazing local talent such as Sarah Waddington, a local Hillary's singer with a sensational soprano's voice. So I commend these outdoor community dining and entertainment events and businesses across the Hillary's electorate who have adapted so well to COVID. Another individual that I feel deserves a shout out today is someone who people in this chamber may have heard of. His name is Roscoe McGlashan. He is an Australian drag racing record holder, and he is someone that has demonstrated local ingenuity and a can-do attitude even during a world pandemic. I visited Roscoe recently at his house in Mullaloo, where he's lived for over 45 years. And I could not believe, I kid you not, in the back of his house he has a workshop that houses a 16-metre long rocket car. This is something that he and his team have built, a long jet-powered vehicle known as the Aussie Invader 5R, and even NASA is interested. Roscoe currently holds the Australian land speed record, but is interested in breaking the world record here, hopefully in Western Australia in the Kimberley. I'm proud that the McGowan government is supporting the innovation sector, and I will advocate strongly for us to support Roscoe's incredible project. Acting Speaker, back in 2020, I was a teacher when the pandemic hit. So I, to some extent, understand the stress and anxiety that has been caused by the changes in policy and the issue of a virus entering WA. But considering what anxiety teachers, families and children have endured on the East Coast, I know that Western Australians have fared very well. In fact, the member for Roe commented on the frustration that many felt with the extension of our decision to extend the border beyond the 5th of February. Every single teacher that I have spoken to recently, many reaching out to me, not just from my electorate, but all over the state, have said to me that they are very grateful that that decision was made, given that it coincided with the start of the school term. Whilst many were ready with online learning because we'd had those mini lockdowns in previous years, this was something different, and schools felt that internally they wanted more time to get ready, and were grateful for that decision. There has not been chaos or confusion, as the opposition would like you to believe. In fact, states over east, or schools over east, I should say, have had to close for months or weeks on end. We've had a few schools having to react to the new emerging situations. And I have every confidence that schools in Western Australia, both state and public, will do very well. They have done an outstanding job so far in order to ensure safety and the efficiency of our children's learning environment for the past 2 years, and will continue to do so. Our schools are aware, they're planned and they're prepared, with contingency plans in place for remote learning and arrangements to replace staff who are required to isolate. On the topic of schools, I'd like to give a shout out to St Mark's Anglican Community School, which is based in Hillary's. This school achieved a wonderful ATAR result and for the first time made it into the league chart. But I particularly want to congratulate one of their teachers, one of their philosophy and ethics teachers, Padbury resident Andrew Rogers, for receiving the 2021 Australian Secondary School Teacher of the Year from a non-government school. I also want to congratulate Hillary's resident, William Brooke, for graduating, but also for his role as the Hillary's Youth Parliament student. I wish this incredibly talented young man all the best on his future endeavours, and I have no doubt that he will one day sit in this chamber. Finally, may I have an extension?
Extension granted.
Finally, I want to discuss a topic close to my heart, the environment. And I want to thank the member for Maylands for her well-researched and riveting speech about the need for people to start thinking more about plant-based foods. The health and well-being of our environment is a priority for the Hillary's electorate and a priority for the McGowan government. Acting Speaker, this summer I was able to take a short break to Albany, where I visited the famous wind farms. I was blown away, quite literally, at the impressive renewable energy that harnessed the power of wind to ultimately power 80% of Albany. Our state is one of the most blessed places on earth when it comes to renewable energy resources. And I hear this regularly when I'm out door knocking. People want us to endeavour to harness this power, not just for environmental reasons, but for economic benefits. In fact, many of my constituents would like to see a future where all of Western Australia has grown increasingly prosperous by leveraging green energy. The McGowan government's green energy focus presents an exciting opportunity for WA to benefit as industries and supply chains around the world decarbonise. Finally, on my way home from Albany, I took a stop in Denmark. I was in Denmark when the fires took hold and we were evacuated from the beach. I saw firsthand the bravery of our fire, safety and emergency crew. And I also want to praise the member for Warren Blackwood for the great work she is doing in her community during this very difficult time. I commend all the firefighters for the dedicated work that they do throughout this state, with great skill and often in threatening conditions, defending lives and livelihoods. The McGowan government is very proud to support them. Thank you.